So we walk out there and I'm just like, wow, this is so peaceful. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you about the story of Lucky and why I decided to adopt a dog at the age of 22. So if you guys want to hear Lucky's story, let's get right into this. First, let me give a huge shout out to my very much appreciated Patreon members. Thank you to all of my supporters over there. I really appreciate everything that you guys do for me. And if you want to get to know me on a deeper level, definitely check out my Patreon. So yeah guys, I wanted to talk about Lucky today. I wanted to change pace a little bit and change the vibe because I know my previous video was pretty sad and it made some people feel a little bit emotional, and I do appreciate all of you guys reaching out to me and showing your support on that video, so thank you so much. But I wanted to share the story about Lucky, and he has kind of a unique story because during the time that I adopted him, I was really not in a place in my life where I should even be entertaining the idea of adopting a dog or caring for something or taking on another financial responsibility. But I'm really happy that I did because Lucky has helped me out in so many more ways than one. So before I adopted Lucky, I had no real routine throughout my days. My daily routine consisted of waking up whenever I wanted to, going to the gym, filming something for OnlyFans, maybe a webcam show here and there, definitely not to the extent that I'm doing it now every day. So, I'm really grateful that Lucky has just taught me so much about myself. I've gained so much respect for myself as well as the things that I have and the things that I work for. So before I adopted him, I really felt like I had no responsibilities. And I didn't feel like this at the time, but looking back now, I can see how I felt. And even watching some of my old videos, I'm like, come on, you could have done better than that, I also just really did not like where I was living. I felt unsafe there. There was a huge, and still is a huge, homeless problem. And I have nothing against homeless people, but when it starts becoming dangerous to walk out of your front door, then I have a problem with it. There was one time when I walked out of my apartment in the morning, it was around 8 a.m., and there was a man sleeping on my front porch. Because this apartment that I had at the time was on the ground level, right in downtown Phoenix. If I knew something like that would have ever happened, I would have never chosen that apartment. I just thought it would be cool to be on the ground level, and I thought it would feel more like a house, townhouse kind of vibe, but I will never live on a ground level apartment ever again. Basically, I just said, "Hello, can you move please?" He stood up and gave me a dirty look and then walked away. Very slowly, might I add. Another time was when I was walking out of my front door and a homeless man, before I could even step my full body out of the door, asked me if I had any change on me or any cash. And I was like, "No, I don't carry cash or change, sorry." And he was like, "F you." He didn't say F, he said the real word, but he said that, and it was like 8 a.m. again, the first thing that happened to me that day, and it was just like, why am I here? I'm not willing to put up with this. This is not a good quality of life for me. I know there are tons of people that are not bothered by that in the slightest and just take it with a grain of salt and accept that as part of living in the city. But for me, I never want to be around any of that ever again. And adopting Lucky has really put that into perspective for me. So I also chose to adopt him because I thought he would be not a sense of protection, but just another energy in my apartment, just so I didn't feel totally alone in scary situations. So during this time, it was the tail end of the big event that we're just getting over. Lots of things were just starting to open up again. There were still wait lists and you still had to make appointments to do certain things that you didn't have to make appointments for before the big event. So I was looking on the Humane Society's website and I thought, ooh, I would love to go in and just take a look at their dogs and, maybe adopt one, see if any dogs stand out to me. Maybe a cat, I don't know. So I went on the website and I saw that you needed to make an appointment. And that kind of turned me off because I'm like, why would I make an appointment for a shelter? I'm not shopping for a dog. So the way that they had it set up was that you go on their website and you click what kind of animal you're looking for. So I clicked dogs, and then there's like 2 pages of dogs to choose from, and all you have to go off of is their picture and maybe like a couple generic adjectives describing their personality, but you can't really go off of things like that. I was just gonna wait until the Humane Society opened up to the public again so I could get the real organic experience like I did with my childhood dog. Because when I adopted my childhood dog, it was meant to happen. I literally saw him, he saw me, we connected instantly. But with this, it was like, go on your phone, scroll, whatever dog is like the most attractive, then you click, I want to see this one, click a time slot, and hopefully somebody doesn't adopt that dog before you get the chance to see it. So I made my appointment with a particular dog. I think it was a black lab at this point. It was kind of a younger puppy age dog, not full puppy, but I was really looking forward to meeting this dog. So I picked the closest available appointment date, and that was February 17th, 2021. I think it was like 3 days after the day that I scheduled it. So I was really excited for that, and I invited my mom to go with me because she had adopted a dog a year prior to this, so I wanted her to just share the experience with me because I went with her to adopt her dog at the same shelter. So as soon as I got to the Humane Society that day, as I was walking in with my mom, I saw a woman walk out with the dog that I scheduled to visit. And I knew in my heart that it was the dog. I couldn't tell for sure, but I was like, dang, I hope that's not so-and-so who I'm about to see. But sure enough, I get up and I check in for my appointment, and they notify me that the dog that I was planning to visit and maybe adopt had just been adopted. So I was like, aww, a little bit disappointed, but she suggested to look through their website more and try to find another dog to visit. So I went on the website, and mind you, as I was doing this, it just felt kind of wrong. It felt like, why am I at a shelter on my phone, you know, judging these dogs based off of what they look like? Because that's literally the only thing that you can go off of. It just felt wrong, but I'm like, you know what, I'm here, let me just try to see another dog. So yeah guys, as I said, this situation felt a little bit off to me, but I knew that they were just trying to do what they could to still get dogs adopted throughout this big event. So I saw a dog on the website. He wasn't my first choice, but he looked very perky. He was standing up and his picture was so handsome. His ears were straight up. He looked very unique. Like, I had never really seen a dog like him before. I just felt like, wow, this dog has a personality. I could just tell by looking at his picture. And I apologize if you guys hear excess noise in the background. I told the lady at the front desk that I was interested in Goose. Goose was his name at the time, and you know, I didn't understand why they decided to name him Goose, but shortly after meeting him, it all made sense. So we were called up and we were notified that Goose was ready for us, and we went out into an open area, and there was like a playpen area with little gates set up around us. So my mom and I are just waiting in there, and about a minute later, the lady walks out with this dog who is just excited, jumping, you know, not aggressive or anyway, not barking, just excited to get in this playpen with us. And as soon as she opens one of the gates to walk into the playpen, a bracelet that she was wearing snapped and like exploded, guys. Beads went everywhere. It was one of those cheapy elastic bead bracelets, and I was just like, you know, I couldn't even pay attention to him. But at this time, he went straight up to my mom. I started helping the lady pick up, it had to have been like 100 beads at least, because it was dangerous, you know. It was like, you don't want to step on one and then crack your head. So, and I also felt bad, so I felt like, let me just do this. And finally, after a minute of doing that, I turned around and, you know, I started petting Goose, and I was like, hi buddy, how you doing? And he was sniffing me and licking me, and he was just very happy, like very, very happy. I just felt like, I cannot leave this dog here, you know. At the time, I wanted a dog that I would be able to take on hikes and different road trips and, you know, go longboarding with. And I thought, he might be a little bit too small for all that because it's a lot and I have a pretty active lifestyle, but I want a dog that can keep up with me. I didn't want like a little teacup dog or a smaller dog that gets tired easily, or a dog like my mom's who's very old and can't really do anything other than sit around. I love her dog Garner though. He is amazing. Such a sweetheart. But yeah, Goose was happy and just filled with excitement. He started doing this thing that I had never seen another dog do before, but it's like his play pose. I think all dogs do this, but he jumps down and he takes his two paws and like slaps them on the ground, and you can like hear his pads hit the ground. It's like the funniest thing ever, but he still does it. I can just look at him a certain way and he'll do it. But it's like his play pose. And as soon as he did that, I was like, we just started playing, and after like 5 minutes, my mom was getting kind of irritated. I felt a little bit pressured, and I felt like, oh, I don't want to leave here, you know, I don't want to force this decision either. So I asked the lady who was helping us if it was okay for me to take Goose out for a walk. I thought, you know, this is where I'll make my mind up. This is where I'll know if he's too much, if he's not enough, or if he's perfect for me. So we go outside behind the shelter to this nice walking path that they had made back there. There's plants and grass patches and playpens, everything. So we walk out there and I'm just like, wow, this is so peaceful. The beautiful South Mountains were in the background. It was a beautiful, warm, sunny day. Goose was smelling around and just looking at me. I was looking at him, but he does pull, so that was one thing I noticed. I just felt like, you know what? I'm gonna adopt him. This dog is for me. I feel lucky that I met him. I feel lucky that he met me. Plus, I was really into Miss Spears at the time, so I was listening to all of her old songs on repeat. And I thought, wow, I should name him Lucky. And then another thing that really stood out to me was he looks exactly like this stuffed animal that I had as a child. And I'll post a picture here so you guys can see what it looked like. But this stuffed animal was called Wishbone, and I don't like the name Goose. It didn't really roll off of my tongue the best way, and I just didn't see a goose in him. But when I thought of Lucky, I was like, that is the cutest name ever. He looks like a Lucky. He looks exactly like Wishbone, like eye patch, colors, and everything. So he's Lucky. That's what I'm gonna name him. And I came up with his name the first day that I adopted him. So fast forward a year later, life with Lucky has been great. I'm living out in the suburbs now. I'm out of the city, which I'm just so grateful for. And you know, now it's actually cheaper to live in the city than it was when I moved there. So it's actually more expensive to live out here in the suburbs, which is just crazy to me, but the quality of life, in my opinion, is astronomically better. And Lucky helps greatly with that. So some of the things I like to do with Lucky include going to the dog park. There's a really nice local dog park here in the town that I live in, and it has like a man-made lake with a beach, and there's always tons of dogs there. There's a huge grass field, and then there's like the beachy area, and there's sidewalks everywhere and trails all around the park, and he loves going there. The only thing is the fact that I always have to give him a bath right when we get out of there, because he just goes ham. He goes in the water, he rolls around in the dirt, he plays rough with the other dogs. But I also enjoy taking him on hikes. Now it is getting very, very hot here in Arizona. It's like we're on the cusp of our winter season. So, you know, throughout June to August or September, I would say, it's just so hot, like dangerously hot, where you can't be taking your dogs out on the mountains. You can't even hike alone out on the mountains or with your friends, because it's like 90 degrees at 8 a.m. So, you know, it's good to get all of this active stuff out of the way, because in peak summer, he spends most of his time indoors because it's just too hot. Now, one thing that happened that really scared me, and of course it happened in Phoenix when I was living there, I was longboarding with Lucky, and I think I talked about this in a previous video, but I was longboarding with Lucky with a neighbor friend of mine, and she was riding her bike. And when I say longboarding, I mean I was standing on my longboard and Lucky was pulling me. I had him for probably 2 months at this time, so we were still kind of new with each other, and I was still learning him, he was still learning me, and he was also still learning his surroundings and his environment. So a lot of things piqued his interest, like different kinds of dogs that he would see. So on this day, I remember it like the back of my hand. I was going straight, and my neighbor friend was right beside me, and we're passing an apartment complex on the right. So I saw this lady, and she was in a wheelchair, and I didn't see behind her, but she had an enormous dog tied to her wheelchair, a German Shepherd, and I couldn't see it because her wheelchair was massive. Like, it was the biggest wheelchair I've ever seen. It was one of those powered wheelchairs with the joystick and everything, and it was just huge, so I couldn't see the dog, so I wasn't prepared to hold Lucky tighter or anything like that. And as soon as he saw a peek of this German Shepherd, Lucky darted straight to the right. So we were going from this way, and mind you, he was pulling me, so he was like my power. And immediately he pulls this way and yanks the leash out of my hand. I fall on my face almost, and Lucky runs straight up to this German Shepherd. Her dog is on a very long leash that she has tied to her wheelchair, and the dog goes straight up to Lucky, and Lucky runs straight up to the dog. Because Lucky is not an aggressive dog. I know he was just going up to smell the dog and thought he was going to play with the dog, but this dog immediately grabs Lucky right by the neck like this and is just holding him there. And I froze. I did not know what to do. This lady in the wheelchair was screaming at me. So I start doing everything I can to grab this German Shepherd off of my dog. So my dog is literally just looking at me. Like, his eyes are like, please help, please help. Then this lady's roommate or sister comes around the corner and starts cussing at me and screaming at me and telling me she's gonna call the cops on me and all this other stuff. And my neighbor friend was sticking up for me too. She's an older lady. Coolest lady ever. I do admit, she was one of the few things that I missed about living in Phoenix. But she stood up for me, and we just left shortly after that. And it was a traumatic experience, but I also learned that I need to keep a stiff hold on the leash when I'm with him, especially when I'm around other dogs in areas that I don't know that well, or just anything that could cause issues. I need to be very aware of that at all times when I'm with Lucky. So, other than that, I really haven't had any other scary situations with him. I'm very grateful for him. He's taught me so much when it comes to self-discipline and sticking to my routine and getting things done. And also, I'm motivated to provide him a house one day. You know, I don't want to have him living in my apartments throughout his entire life. I want to get to the point in my life one day where I just crack open the back door and he runs in his backyard and he has his own domain. And it will happen, but you know, before I adopted him, I never really wanted a house that bad. I was fine with living in apartments and traveling all the time and not really having stability in my life. But Lucky has changed so much in my life, and I'm always going to be grateful for the fact that I found him. And I hope he feels the same way about me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, hearing my story about why I adopted Lucky. If you're thinking about adopting a dog, I definitely suggest going to your local humane society and just checking them out. I don't think any of them are doing the online appointment only thing anymore, so you should be able to just go in and walk in and look around and see what sticks out to you. Who knows, you might find your forever friend. So, other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you thought about it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!